So although the doctors do not make the connection between the thickness of the myelin sheathing and these health conditions, if you take all the information, you can see the line of reasoning leads you to that conclusion.
It looks pretty obvious to me.
And then years of working with it, I am absolutely convinced that's the key. Okay, now that we got that underhand, let's take these symptoms of conditions one by one, and I'll kind of show you a little bit of the connection. First, we're going to talk about ADD. Now, ADHD, the hyperactivity, I believe comes from either an allergy or liver function or other things are involved. I'm just going to talk about the ADD part, the attention deficit disorder. And to explain it, I'm going to use this. This is supposed to be a picture of a CB radio.
Yeah, I was thinking it was taking me back in time.
Yeah, I know. We used to have these all the time. That's what we used to do on the weekend is we go out in the mountains and talk to people we don't know on our CB radio. And when we first turned it on, you'd hear breaker, breaker, all this background noises and stuff like that. And there was something called the squelch button. And what you could do with the squelch button is you could turn it and it would tune out all the background noises so that you could just hone in on one person's voice that you were talking to.
Well, it's kind of like fixing a channel on the radio. And sometimes you get more than one channel and you have to go up or down a notch to get it right.
Yeah, that's what the CB kind of did. But the squelch button is the name of it on the CB. Because you're still on the same channel. You just squelch out the background noise.
Okay.
Okay? Well, that in part is what the myelin sheathing does. If it's thick enough, you can shut out background noises. So let's say you're a student in school and your teacher's talking and you can squelch all the kid next to you kicking his shoes and someone sharpening their pencil or someone tapping their fingers. You can squelch all that out and concentrate just on the teacher. If the myelin sheathing is too thin, your squelch button is not working. So everything hits you with the same amount of intensity. All the sounds, all the little shuffles, the turning of paper, the creaking of the chair, all those things take you from being able to pay attention to the teacher. And basically that's what ADD is.
All right, my myelin's thin. Talk to me.
Okay. Well, we're going to go and learn a little bit more. The connection with the OCD, remember I said how your brain thinks it and then it's chemical, electrical, chemical, and so on until you lock the door. And then you get the impulse back. That the subconscious gets the statement, mission is accomplished. Because the sensation of touch has given a message back to the brain that it was locked. If the myelin sheathing is very thin, it cannot release as much chemicals, so then therefore the next electrical impulse is not as strong, which releases even less chemicals, until by the time it gets to the brain, the subconscious does not see that the door has been locked.
So it's like running out of gas.
Sort of, yeah. The impulse. It's like being on a water line, and the last persons are not getting the pressure. They're not getting that amount of of water. So your brain is not getting from the subconscious, from that sensation, that it has been done. You can see with your eyes, and consciously you realize that you locked that door. But the subconscious hasn't got the message. It hasn't gotten the impulse because it goes through the myelin sheathing.
When you're talking about this, it sounds like it would be like a slow process, but actually it's really fast. I mean, your body's working like really fast.
Excellent, Carolyn. You're right. That is such a good point. I'm glad you brought that out. Matter of fact, it's so fast, just think if you have the stove turned on
Right.
and you touch the stove, by the time you take it off, it's just a split second,
Right.
if that.
So
you're
this
right.
has to work really fast, and it looks to me like, if you're not feeding this all the time, then it would wear out.
Well,
and I'm older than you are, so I'm probably getting slower.
Well, the myelin sheathing, it's not so much how long you've lived, but how much stress you've had in your life. And having how many grandchildren?
36.
Yeah, and 9 children. You've probably had 1 or 2 stressful days in your life.
I'd say.
So yeah, the myelin sheathing can be thinned out from that. So do you see the connection? So what happens if your subconscious didn't get the idea that you locked the door, you'll start worrying about it and thinking about it, and the body will say, well, go lock the door. So you'll go and check it again and again and again until finally the impulse does get back to the brain. Because instead of doing this once, you might do it 2 or 3 or 4 times. Finally, it does get back to the brain that the door is locked. And that's what obsessive compulsive disorder is. There's different types, but that's one example of how.
But mainly caused by stress.
Well, yes. Stress is probably the number one thing, and we're going to get into that right now. Whenever you're under stress, there are 2 glands that sit on top of your kidneys. They're called the adrenal glands, and they look like this and this. Those are your adrenal glands. Whenever you're under stress, your adrenal glands produce a hormone called adrenaline. Yeah, these are my little hormones, okay? No, actually, they're a hormone, and the hormone is to protect you. Let's say back in the old days, whenever we were pioneers, and you're walking out in the woods and there's a bear that comes out of the woods. Nature has provided a way to protect you from that bear. The adrenal glands produce adrenaline, which causes you to either have the strength to fight something off or to run away from it. Exactly. To run away from it. Well, let's say the stress is the fact that your grandkids are banging on pots and pans. Or you have a bill collector calling you. Well, you can't punch any of them out, although it'd be nice to do so to the bill collector sometimes. And you can't physically run away. So that adrenaline from the stress then weakens the myelin sheathing, attacks the nervous system. It pulls out B vitamins. It wears down the myelin sheathing. So stress is the number 1 cause of a thin myelin sheathing.
So it's better to get rid of that.
Absolutely. That's what I tell people to do. I'll have people call me up and they'll say, I'm in the middle of a panic attack. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Well, what happens is that's all that adrenaline in their body that they have not released. So I'll tell them, put the phone down. I'll stay on while you do this. Put the phone down. Get a couple pillows. Put it in a pillowcase so it's nice and tight. And punch the snot out of the pillow. Punch it like you're trying to save your life. Hard. And if you have to, scream and yell. Whatever you would do if you're being attacked by something and you're trying to kill it. And they'll do that. And you'll hear them. I mean, it sounds like, I'm hoping their neighbors don't send them away and put them in a straitjacket. But I mean, they just really let it out. It's hard for them to do it at first because they feel like wackos. But after a while, they'll do it and they'll let it out. And they'll get back on the phone. And almost always they'll go, I feel so much better. I don't have that anxiety anymore. Because they've used up that adrenaline. Now, some people say, well, I go for a walk. But if a bear is trying to attack you, walking away, your body's going to keep producing more adrenaline, saying, fight, run,
Get a move on.
Right. So if you're taking a walk thinking about, how crappy your boss is, that adrenaline is going to keep on building. And the fact that you're not walking, the body's subconscious or autopilot, survival autopilot, is going to try to pump even more adrenaline into you to try to get you to run.